another one.
Personal project recommendation. All right, so I'm a junior tester, mostly doing manual testing and bug defects for my company. However, I want to progress my career by learning more types of testing, namely API testing with Postman, performance testing with JMeter, or you can use the Ralph performance testing tool that Don built. Just saying. All right. Automation testing with Selenium and Python. Mobile app testing using Appium. All right. Says, can I get some recommendations on what projects are suitable to be shown on my GitHub profile so that I can have better portfolio in job hunting? All right, let's get the clock up. And I'm going to break a little hearts real quick. I'm going to break some hearts, right? Nobody, I repeat, nobody really cares that much about your GitHub profile. They really don't. The most that they might care about is you have one, but no one is going to be digging through your GitHub profile to see every single line of code that you wrote, right? What your GitHub profile is useful for is that if they give you a project and you have to push that to GitHub, then you can use that to share. And it's also useful for yourself, right? One thing I would check on GitHub is the level of activity that you have on your GitHub as well. But there's no way possible for people that busy to be going through your GitHub to see like all the different stuff that you did, right? So does that mean that these projects aren't important? Absolutely not. The projects are super important, and the things that you're trying to do, they're super important. I'm just saying that nobody really cares about your GitHub that way. Should you not put it on your resume and stuff like that? Absolutely, you should, because it is important to have like all those, like having your LinkedIn on there, having your GitHub link on there, your email address, if you have a website, your website, all that, super important. But nobody really cares about your GitHub like that because we don't have the time to go and look at every single repo that you have on there, right? But to get to these questions, so sorry to break your heart, but to get to these questions, API testing with Postman. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the API testing series where we'll be using Postman or Insomnia. Maybe we'll do both. We're going to be using, and we'll probably like either use Rapid API, that one of their APIs over there. They give you like, those are APIs you can use for free to practice, to learn, and stuff like that. We have done performance testing using JMeter on this channel, and the thing with performance testing is you need to be able to send a lot of traffic to it. I think a great way to practice performance testing is if you take some site, right, some test site, and you deploy it to AWS, and then you do performance testing against your AWS instances or however you set it up, right? And that goes along with our Terraform work, where we deployed an application to AWS, and then we can use that for performance testing. Simple. Automation testing with Selenium and Python. I've done plenty of videos where we did automation with Selenium and Python. We've been doing Selenium with TypeScript lately. The way that I say you practice with that is you just find a site that you like and go through that, go check out, like, it's a whole process. Write the test cases that you would be using to test that site, and then you automate those test cases. Simple. Or find a software engineer, a full stack developer who's working on a project, building something, and say, hey, because here's a secret. Most software developers, full stack developers, they don't know much about testing. They barely write any unit tests. So team up with them and say, hey, let me test your application. and then you see that they're not putting test data IDs like identifiers and stuff like that, and you tell them, hey, this isn't clean. How are we supposed to test this if we don't have identifiers? And then you say you have to add identifiers, and you make them better, and you make them more test minded, and you get that practical experience. Right? Well, there you go. And then for the mobile app testing using Appium. So that one's a little bit harder because you would need to have the file, the app that you can install on the device or on the emulator. So that one's a little bit harder. That one's a little bit trickier. But if you can find an APK, or you can find the IPA file for using if you're trying to do it with iOS, then you'll be in a good spot. I would also say for the mobile app testing using Appium part, don't hesitate to try out AWS Device Farm. They give you a certain amount of free minutes that you can use it for, but getting in tune with the latest technologies is like you don't understand how important it is to use the latest technologies. And being that and saying that you're able to connect your mobile testing or even your automation testing to the AWS device farm and choose from a variety of browsers and operating systems to be able to run your test on, that is what makes you stand out from the people who just do the everyday rinky dinky test. Find a like that one I can't help you with. Right. For my tech barbarians, I can with the apps like with the app that I'm building for the time cost and then the other apps that I'm going to build, I can shoot them the APA, the APK file or the IPA file for them to install and play around with and things like that. I don't care because they're my tech barbarians. But for you, if you're not a tech barbarian, you're gonna have to find a file to actually be able to test. What you can do is test like the mobile websites on a device, but that's not the same as testing an app. So for that, if you need an app to test, you got to become a tech barbarian, and we can work together, and I can help you out with that. But other than that, that's all you got. All right. But sorry to break your heart, but nobody cares about your GitHub, unless you're using your GitHub to show a project that you're doing for your interview. But no one's going to be like, because the recruiters, they can't read the code like that to know what's in your GitHub. The managers are too busy to read your GitHub. The people who doing the actually interviewing you, they're too. I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes I go and look at some GitHubs just to see what's in there. But that's normally not when I'm interviewing for work. That's when I'm helping people out and seeing what projects that they have, which they barely have any. So, anyways, that wraps that one up.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.